The Muslim story in Canada is understudied, undervalued, underrepresented. It's a story that exists in part of the fabric of the Canadian society, but it's been silenced.
The first Muslim woman who self-identified as a Muslim woman, Agnes Love, in 1837, and she's written up by Dr. Hamdani.
He's the pioneering figure in this field. He wasn't a trained historian. To my knowledge, he was a statistician.
He was, a statistical nerd, an economist, but he also loved history.
When you read Dawood Hamdani's work, it's a complete different story. It's about the arrival of Muslims, the setting down of roots, the growth of the community, the passing down of the traditions, the generations. There is that famous image you can capture of the census where it records 13 Mohammedans, that includes the Love family, the first census recorded Muslims in Canada. We don't actually know a lot about the Love family.
Muslim presence has been traced back to 1851 in territories that later became part of Canada in 1867.
We know that the first claimed Muslim child in Canada was their son, James Love Jr., born in 1854. We know that they had 8 children, the last being Alexander. I think he was born in 1868, so the year after Confederation. 10 years later, on the next census in 1881, they were recorded as Presbyterians. We know that their cemeteries are in a graveyard in Toronto. Why did they become Presbyterian? Nobody really knows. It's a big question mark. If they were Muslim, what kind of training had they had? What kind of education? Did they have a solid foundation? Did they have a copy of the Quran? Did they have teachings about how to pray? Was there any way to buy halal meat, or were they obliged to go to Christmas dinners with people and drink alcohol? The pressures are immense. What kind of supports they had, we don't know. If they were truly Muslim, then it's obvious that the supports weren't enough, if there were any, or that they told a fib on the next census and said they were Presbyterian. There were people in that era who were converting to Islam. It's not so far-fetched that James and Agnes Love could have been converts to Islam, and they would have called themselves Mohammedan in the census.
During the transatlantic slave trade, individuals who came here, the enslaved persons who came here, many of them were Muslims. They were the first Muslims in Canada, not Agnes Love, but we don't know a lot about them.
There's the story of a slave who was captured in what was now Benin, taken to Brazil and then into the US, and then he escaped and made it to Canada in 1854, which is already 3 years after the Loves, but he wrote an autobiography as well. The Love family, which is the first recorded because it's in the census, therefore indisputable, sometimes that has a way of erasing that history that would have gone before. The immigrants who'd come after from Albania, they found it hard to get employment because they needed a letter from their church reverend, which as Muslims they weren't going to have. So the Love family in the 1850s, who knows? Maybe they had those kinds of pressures as well.
You had to just fit in because they didn't know who we were. They'd never met people like us before. Now, they meet people like us all the time, and even then there's such a lot of misunderstandings about who Muslims are.
Understanding the history of Muslims in Canada is important both for the Muslim community and for the non-Muslim community. A nation is made by shared memories and shared stories, a sense of bonding between peoples. Muslims often feel as if they've been pushed out of what it means to be Canadian, even though from when you do interviews with Muslims, they talk about how they want to belong. This information, therefore, is not well known. It's not disseminated. It's not really integrated into history. It's not really part of the story of Canada, and it's not even part of the story of Muslims in Canada. I hope Muslims in Canada can develop a stronger sense of belonging to the Canadian nation, and I hope that non-Muslim Canadians can hear this story with a welcoming heart so that we can come together as partners, as friends in making Canada a better place for all.